after many, many years of lies being told about me and my family, there comes a point where, you know, again, going back to the relationship between certain members of the family and the tabloid press.
The wait is finally over. According to sources close to the palace, King Charles has made the one decision Harry and Meghan never expected to actually hear. Not a pause, not another review, a final answer. Insiders say there will be no return to their old royal life, no restored titles, no quiet path back through the palace gates. The king has reportedly drawn a line, and everyone around him understands he intends it to stay there. Before we go further, hit subscribe, because what happens in the next few minutes changes how you see this entire family. Sources say Charles knew this would cut deeper than headlines. Harry and Meghan walked away from royal duty years ago, and reports suggest the king has now confirmed there is no coming back to it. Family contact, allegedly, can continue, but the working role they once held is described as permanently closed. Charles is said to have read the final briefing twice before setting it down. This was never really paperwork. This was his son. Reopening the door, insiders suggest, would only reopen every old argument: loyalty, confidentiality, who really speaks for the crown. Ending that uncertainty was reportedly meant to protect the institution, but it also meant a father accepting that love alone could not undo what had already happened. Harry allegedly received the news quietly and said nothing at first. Meghan is said to have watched his face change as he realized this wasn't a pause he could revisit later. For Harry, sources claim royal duty was never simply a job. It was tied to who he was. According to people familiar with the matter, Charles made one thing unmistakably clear: the family could still rebuild trust privately, but the palace would not keep reopening negotiations over status. Harry could remain a son. Meghan could remain part of the wider family. Neither would step back into the roles they once carried. So what actually convinced Charles that another attempt at compromise would only make things worse? According to insiders, it all traces back to a single private meeting nobody was supposed to know about. Underneath the palace language sits something far simpler: a father and son who no longer agree on what reconciliation even means. Charles reportedly separates loving Harry from restoring his royal position. Harry, sources say, sees that separation as a technicality, dressed up as principle. Meghan allegedly understands that stepping back in under new terms could cost them the independence they spent years building. And caught in the middle stands William, reportedly carrying the weight of decisions that may one day land on his own reign. That meeting happened at Windsor, according to sources, with no cameras and no statements, just relatives trying to rebuild trust after years of damage. Charles had authorized it, hoping some limited version of royal duty could return without dragging up every old wound. William reportedly walked in cautious, insisting that private conversations, public criticism, and commercial deals could not stay blurred together anymore. Harry, insiders say, felt the walls closing in almost immediately. He argued that returning under new restrictions would leave him physically inside the family, while permanently treated like someone who couldn't be trusted. Then came the question. Sources say the king had been dreading, why should Harry have to prove his loyalty first, when the family had never proven theirs? Charles allegedly went silent when his son asked whether the monarchy had ever actually protected him when the pressure became too much. Protection and agreement, the king reportedly answered, were never the same thing. Harry then made the request that reportedly changed the entire direction of the conversation: written guarantees that no future disagreement could ever strip him of his role again. William pushed back instantly, insisting no royal could demand immunity from the sovereign's authority. The room, according to sources, finally broke. Harry allegedly looked at his father and asked him directly, "Am I being invited home or just being managed?" He left before Charles could answer. Charles reportedly stayed behind with William, visibly shaken. He admitted they were no longer arguing about duties. They were arguing about two completely different definitions of trust. Harry needed security before he could return. William believed trust had to come first, and Charles, sources say, finally understood that forcing those two positions together would only end up damaging everyone involved. When father and son sat down again, There were reportedly no advisors left to soften anything, no papers between them. Harry wanted the truth straight from Charles, and Charles apparently knew dodging it would only make the wound worse. What followed wasn't shouting, it was something heavier. Two men who still loved each other and had somehow reached two completely different conclusions about what that love could actually fix. Harry asked if the years away had quietly erased any chance of serving again. Charles reportedly answered carefully. Harry would always be his son, but affection alone couldn't rebuild an official role, while trust remained this unresolved. Harry immediately asked if William had pushed for that answer. Charles refused to shift the blame, insisting the decision belonged to the sovereign and no one else. Then came the line Harry had feared most. The palace would not keep reopening negotiations about restoring Harry and Meghan as working royals. The decision would hurt them both, Charles reportedly admitted, but years of uncertainty had already hurt the family more. Harry said nothing for several seconds. The anger was still there, but underneath it sat something heavier, the realization that this was no longer a negotiation. Because according to insiders, this was never only about being a father. Charles was also deciding what kind of monarchy William would eventually inherit. A half-open return risked creating two separate centers of royal influence, one shaped by palace discipline, one operating outside it entirely. William reportedly warned his father directly that he could not inherit a system where royal roles shifted depending on how two brothers happened to be getting along that year. Charles is said to have absorbed that warning in silence because it pushed the decision beyond the present and straight into the next reign. Delaying wouldn't remove the conflict. Insiders suggest it would simply hand it to William later. Eventually, according to sources, Charles told him plainly he would not leave this unresolved for his son to inherit. Meghan's position reportedly made the stakes even sharper. Any renewed role would mean tighter limits on public statements, commercial work, and access to internal royal life, a real cost to the independence she and Harry had already built for themselves. Charles ultimately concluded no single arrangement could satisfy everyone at once. The crown needed clarity. William needed stability. Harry wanted belonging. Meghan wanted autonomy. Something, inevitably, had to give. For Harry and Meghan, the abstract became painfully real fast. No phased return, no restored schedule, no path back to the position beside William. Sources describe them now as non-working members of the royal family, still relatives, but no longer carrying out duties on the sovereign's behalf. Private invitations, allegedly, can still happen without changing that status at all. Harry reportedly struggled most with losing the uncertainty itself. For years, every warmer conversation with his father had quietly left room for hope that reconciliation might reopen the professional door too. That hope, insiders say, is now gone. Meghan allegedly saw the deeper risk before he did. Chasing a version of royal life that no longer exists would only keep them stuck between two worlds. Freedom means very little, she reportedly told him, if their future still depends on whether the institution changes its mind. The real turning point, according to sources, came without any ceremony at all. Charles and Harry spoke again, this time without negotiating titles or duties, just the relationship sitting underneath all of it. Harry reportedly entered already knowing the institutional question was settled, nothing left to fight for there. For the first time, he stopped asking to return to his old position, and Charles stopped answering as a sovereign long enough to simply speak as a father. Harry allegedly admitted something he'd resisted saying out loud. He had treated restoration of his royal role as proof the family still wanted him. Without it, he feared he had lost belonging itself. Charles reportedly answered slowly, insisting love and title were never the same thing in his mind. He couldn't restore the old role without reopening every wound tied to trust and public duty. But he also refused to accept permanent distance from his son and grandchildren as the price of protecting the crown. Harry finally stopped fighting the decision. Instead, he asked if they could simply talk again, without every call turning into a negotiation over titles. Charles reportedly agreed. Small, according to insiders, but it mattered because neither man demanded surrender from the other. Once the decision reached the public, nuance disappeared almost instantly. Some read it as Charles finally protecting the monarchy after years of uncertainty. Others saw a father formalizing distance from his own son. Headlines reportedly ran with lines like "No royal return" next to photos of the two men. But according to people close to the family, one detail changed the entire emotional read. The ruling closed the road back to royal duty, not the relationship itself. Palace messaging allegedly worked to separate private family contact from official service, meaning a personal appearance would no longer be read as a sign of comeback. Charles reportedly refused to soften the wording just to quiet the criticism, believing vague language would only recreate the very uncertainty he was trying to end for good. William, for his part, kept his response deliberately restrained because, according to insiders, this was never supposed to be about winning. In the end, sources suggest this wasn't the triumphant return Harry once pictured, and it wasn't the total severance many feared either. It was something harder, and maybe something far more sustainable. The old arrangement is over. Harry and Meghan will not return to their former roles, and that chapter is reportedly closed for good. But Charles allegedly refused to let institutional separation mean personal abandonment, and that distinction is the real verdict here. Harry slowly comes to accept it. Seeing his father, visiting home, showing up to a family occasion no longer has to mean reclaiming the life he once had beside William. Meghan reportedly reaches the same place from a different direction, finally free from endless bargaining over partial restoration. And William gets a clarity of his own. He will not inherit a monarchy, still dodging one of its most painful questions. Still, insiders admit there is no real victory in any of it. The future king still has a brother standing on the other side of a painful divide. Neither man got everything he wanted, but for the first time, according to sources, both finally understand exactly where they stand. The royal door may be closed for good. The family door, allegedly, was never actually locked. The monarchy moves forward, and the family, according to those close to them, is left learning how to love each other without pretending the past can simply be rebuilt. This video is based on public reporting and informed speculation, not confirmed statements from the royal family. If this kept you hooked till the very end, that tells me everything. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.